Why does no one talk about how rude and racist Barcelona is? Like, all the workers there, like all the Spanish people there, were just so rude for no reason. They just did at me and my friend, like they treated us so horribly. So I'll start with the best story with the racist experience that happened to us in the metro in Barcelona. So we were sitting. Masks are mandatory in Spain, but of course we don't know that because we're from London, and London, like, no one's using masks anymore. So my friend didn't have a mask, but we were on the tube. I did have a mask, so she was like covering her face with her jumper. And after, a woman comes behind and taps her, and she says this in Spanish. Of course, we understand Spanish. We're Ecuadorians, and she says like, I don't know if you realize, but masks are mandatory in the tube. And then my friend's like, oh, and she's like, sorry, I don't have one. And she's like, a mask are mandatory. Did you not see the signs? Did you not just see the police come? Like, masks are mandatory. I don't know what you're doing here. Then you need a mask. And then after I get in and I'm like, and my friend looks at me and I get in, I'm like, I'm sorry, she just doesn't have a mask. And she's like, I don't care. She's getting off in the next stop. She gets off. She can't be on the train. She's getting off. And then after, she's so loud. She's shouting in front of everyone in the tube. Like, everyone's just minding the Ubers. Everyone's just staring at us. Like, we're like, what the hell? And then after, I proceed to say, I'm like, oh, we're tourists. We're sorry. We didn't know. Because we are, like, I'm not lying, we just didn't know we're tourists. And then she looks at us and she says, with those faces you guys have, I believe you. Like, in a sarcastic, rude way. And then she walks off and she says back to us, she's like, but to come to my country and ask for help, you're good at that. So I'll give a bit of context. There's a lot of Latinos in Spain. Yes, like, lots of Latinos immigrate to Spain to work and like to live there, find jobs and all of that. So obviously when she looked at us, she must have thought like we were one of those Latinos that were living in Spain. Like, she couldn't believe that we were tourists that came from the UK. So that's why when she looked at us, she was like, oh yeah, with those faces, I believe you. And she proceeded to say that, like, yeah, we basically go to her country to ask for help and like take her jobs and all of that. So me and my friend were just like, huh? So me and my friend, we were in shock. Like, she just walked off, and yeah, that happened. I know for a fact if we were white, she would have believed that we were tourists. And we were speaking Spanish because, of course, we speak Spanish. Spanish is Spain, so why wouldn't I speak Spanish? Do you want me to be walking around speaking English? Like, what the hell? Also, when we went to this restaurant, like, this restaurant was full of like just Spanish white people inside. They literally stared at us from the minute we walked in. We sat in our table. We were sitting there for 8 minutes. No waiter came in. Nothing. My friend then asked for the menu. The waiter said, okay. He never came back. We left the restaurant because I was like, I'm not sitting there. Like, they're not giving us any service.
So imagine walking down the street and every single person tends to stare at you, not because you are a famous person, but because you are black. This is the reality for so many black women in Spain, and today we are going to be talking about why they are sounding that alarm. This video is not about bashing Spain, it's about truth, it's about racism, hypervisibility, and what it really means to travel or live there as a black woman. Stick around because this conversation is long overdue. Why black women are warning us about Spain, and here's what you'll guess. Real stories from black women, the racism they faced, and why some people are saying be careful if you go there.
Okay, so I think I'm ready to tell you guys about one of the most racist experiences I have had whilst travelling. I went with a friend at the time who is mixed race, and obviously I'm a black woman. We did no research. We just went to Granada, Spain, where the Moors built. We went because that's where the Moors built, but we also went because it was my birthday trip. The racism started instantly. The stares were disgusting. It was intense staring. We got refused service in 1 or 2 restaurants. We did go to a couple of bars. One bar we got told to leave because apparently it was just for men, even though it was a gay bar. Another lesbian bar, the girls that were in there were laughing at us while we were dancing, wouldn't speak to us. Not that we're entitled or you have to speak to us, but it was really giving, we're not trying to talk to you. Then it started to get violent. I got dressed up for my birthday. I've come downstairs in the hotel lobby and this man looked me up and down and literally physically went for me. I'm sure he spat after me, calling me names in Spanish. His wife had to hold him back literally for no reason. I was just walking out of the hotel. Man full blown tried to attack me. There was another time when we was in this rooftop club and I'm dancing, minding my business, and this man tries to physically remove me from the club, speaking in Spanish, basically saying that I shouldn't be there. Luckily, we had made friends with two boys. I think it was Daniel and Jesus. Jesus was gorgeous, blonde hair, blue eyes, Spanish boy, was absolutely gorgeous, and he was the sweetest guy you'll ever meet. And they were basically saying that the reason why people are so racist here is because of Franco. The stares towards the black people and the Muslims was really, really intense. In the hotel lobby, a little girl called me some type of racial geography name in Spanish, and I've looked at her parents, and her parents are smiling. Everywhere we went, the stares, looking me up and down, giving me dirty looks, the sniggering, the laughing was so intense. It was so degrading that I ended up locking myself in the hotel room for the rest of the trip. My friend never experienced any racism because obviously she presented maybe as Spanish, I don't know, but she viewed it, and I know that it really affected her as well. The holiday was awful. Like, my friend's company was amazing and we made it great, but it was awful. People were just so rude, so nasty, saying things in Spanish, and to be refused service during that time, I think it was 2020, 2019, 2020, was insane. I will never go to mainland Spain again. They clearly hate the Moors. They can't stand the Roman Egyptians. They were removing them from shops, refusing them service too. And they definitely couldn't stand the Muslims either. Worst experience ever. Don't go, ever.
And if we have for being racist. So I kind of expected some, but nothing could have prepared me for just how it felt to be in that situation. The first thing, and some people, this may not bother them, but it's staring. I feel like they made me feel like an alien with the staring. When I first got there, and again, I expected this as well because I travel a lot. So I'm used to people staring, especially like, when I look good, I don't blame you, you know what I'm saying? So I'm used to that. But in Spain, they have a mean stare. And where I come from, if you stare at someone, I take that as aggression. I take that as you have a problem with me. So like that puts me on edge. Like, what are you staring at? What is your problem with me? Like, to the point where I would stare back and they still be staring. In a lot of places in Spain, when they see an attractive black woman, they just assume that you're a prostitute. So there was a lot of comments that were made, things that were said about me, or even just the way a man would approach me as a black woman was just very disrespectful, and it was very like over sexualized. I need y'all to understand the level of staring. I worked in a smaller town, and literally on my way, like when I would cross the street, I didn't even have to, like, I could cross the street during the green light. People would stop because people would stop to stare at me anyway. People would like open their mouths. There was a time where someone like snuck a picture of me. Like, it was crazy. And then on the other end, like, if I'm not being stared at and just feel like all attention's on me, I feel like I was being very ignored or pushed to the side. Like, there would be times where I would go to the grocery store and ask a question or even be in line, and then like an older woman would think she could just come in front of me or like treat you like, oh, you're not there or you're not important. That happens a lot where, and people will accept it. Like, I'll be in the grocery store about to be in line, someone will be like, just come put their stuff in front of me, and like the clerk or the cashier would just be like, what makes it more frustrating is the fact that I don't really speak great Spanish. Like, my Spanish wasn't enough to stand up for myself. So that's very frustrating. I remember one particular incident where I really felt like this, and I feel like this was blatant racism, but also like it made me feel like ignored or less than. I was on a bus, and normally I get on a usual bus to get to work, but I remember by this time I was having issues at work. So I really wanted to be on time. I didn't want any drama. So I took a different bus so that I would make it to work on time. And normally buses in Spain, or at least in this town, they have the button where you can press when your stop is coming up. I looked and I seen that it didn't have that. So as he was driving, I went up to him. I said, Senor, this is my stop. Like, please, are you stopping here? And he was like, yeah, I stopped there. Like, he was brushing me away. He was like, yeah, I stopped there. Like, go away. And I was like, in my heart, like, please, sir, like, I cannot be late to work. So I decided to be really observant of how other people were getting off the bus. And I mean, he just were stopping at most stops. So most people were getting off. So I was getting nervous. I made sure I sat near him. But then after a while, I noticed people were getting off at the back of the bus only, which is usual. So I was like, all right, let me sit towards the back as my stop comes up. And a few stops before mine, this woman got up, like she just stood up by the door, and then he like opened it. So I was like, cool, maybe if I stand up, that will let him know. So as my stop is coming up, I stand up, I do this to him, like I see him looking at me through the mirror, and I'm like pointing, like, remember me or whatever. Drives right through my stop. And I mean, I knew that I wasn't tripping because other people on the bus were looking at him like, oh, you didn't stop. But no one stood up for me though. Mad people just like looking like, ooh, no one says nothing. So I'm just like, true. And then this is how I knew it was blatant racism. An old man stands up, he stops at the next stop. I'm so in shock that I didn't even get off the bus because keep in mind that would have had me closer to work. I'm just sitting here in shock, like, there's no way this is happening to me. I even sat back down because I was just so in shock. Another woman stands up, he instantly stops. And he stopped at a place that wasn't even a bus stop for her. Like, he just stopped. So I'm like, are you kidding me? So I'm just sitting there, like, pissed off. Like, at this point, this is the one thing that really sent me over the edge, especially because, like, I talked to you before. You know what I'm saying? I'm seeing other people stand up. Like, this is crazy. So literally the next stop, I got off the bus, y'all. I literally tore up. I broke down crying because literally I was going through it at work. Like now me explaining to my job that like I'm late again because the bus driver was racist. And then I also already talked about this, but I went through like blatant racism as well and discrimination when finding an apartment in Spain. And a lot of people try to invalidate what I went through by saying like it's hard to find an apartment, especially if you're a foreigner in general. And I understand that, but what I need people to understand is that I got an apartment, but when we sent pictures of our passports as 3 Black women, suddenly the landlord changed his mind. Like even in the video that I'm responding to right now, I went to the Sevilla Cathedral with my roommate, and when we went, it was free for residents. So when you buy tickets, there's different options, and we bought resident tickets, which are free. And the lady was sitting there arguing with us that there's no way that we're residents. Keep in mind, we have resident cards right there. And she was looking at the cards like, well, no, you're not technically a resident. You're only permitted to be here for a year. Like she was trying to argue with us about not being residents when the card says resident card with our names and faces on it. Things like that, that like you wouldn't argue with someone else about this. And even if you guys say that like this is not racism, it's still xenophobia. It's still discrimination.
Okay, so I've been seeing a lot of Black girls come to this app and complain about how Spain is very racist. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Yes, Spain is a very racist country. Now, I've been dying to do this video for years now, but I never had the courage to do it because English is not my first language, so I'm a little bit nervous. Please, if I make any grammar mistakes or vocabulary mistakes, just please move on, okay? I'm really trying my best in here. Help me out. That being said, I'm a proud Spanish girl myself. I was born and raised in here. All my family is in here. And I ain't talking about mom and dad. I'm talking about my mom, my dad, my parents, sisters, cousins, like all my family and their families are in this country. So I know what I'm talking about because I've been seeing it all my life. The thing about the racism in this country and the reason why I think that this is the most dangerous racism ever is because they won't fight us. They will ignore us. For you to understand what I'm saying, I want you to call the very first Spanish person you know and ask them if there are Black people in Spain. That person is of course going to say yes because we are more than 1 million Black people in this country. Now, I want you to go ahead and ask that person, are those Black people Spanish? 40% is going to say no, they are not. For them, white Spanish people, we Black people are not Spanish. Imagine being denied in your own country. The thing is, you probably won't even notice because you are a foreigner, you don't speak Spanish, so they will treat you like a foreigner. But the thing is, I was born and raised in here and I'm gonna still get the same treatment as you. Even though I speak Spanish, I eat the same food, I go to the same places, I study in the same places, they will still talk to me like I'm a foreigner. They genuinely deny us. For them, there's no Black people in Spain. And the Black people that are in Spain, they are not Spanish. The reason why this still happens nowadays is because Spanish people are very ignorant. They genuinely don't know their history. They will talk about paella, about la guerra civil, about Franco. That they know. Now, ask them about their colonization past. They will say, Spain didn't. Spain didn't have colonies. Spain didn't do this. Spain didn't do that. Bitch, then explain why am I here? Explain it. There has been a lot of fights and revolution in your countries, but here in Spain, we haven't had our Rosa Parks moment. We haven't achieved that yet because we were never that bad. We didn't have segregation. They didn't colonize as long as countries as France did. So even though they did a lot of horrible things, since what they did wasn't so bad, they don't confront it. They don't talk about it. Not even in school, not anywhere. That's why they are racist. That's the reason why they also deny their racism, because it wasn't like America. And that's why we are stuck in time. And that's why we don't have many Black actors. We don't have many nothing actually. There's a lot of Black people in this country because I know, like I see Black people everywhere. And still, they'll always make us feel like we are just a few, which we are, but we are not. They won't let us be stars. They will make us fight 3 times harder just to have the minimum that a white person can get. They will treat you like a foreigner in your own country and yet make you feel bad about it because why are you being so intense? Why are you being so dramatic? Nobody told you anything. They will literally tell you, leave. Like, just leave. If you don't like it here, leave. Leave where? Where? Nevertheless, this is changing. I'm gonna make it change because my kids are definitely not gonna be born in a country that denies their existences. But still, this is a very good country. We have the best beaches, best music, best sun. People are so welcoming here. We are very party people. We really take everyone in. But also, it's very horrible because Spain is such a very beautiful country, very beautiful people. But they're racist as fuck. And the worst is that they don't even acknowledge it. They don't know how to deal with Black people, so they push us. But like I said, I'm here to stay. I ain't gonna go nowhere. My family's gonna go nowhere. My kids, whenever I have them, are gonna go nowhere. So Spain, change or I'll make you change. Madre mía, que agobio de vídeo, no me puedo creer que lo hayas en inglés, pero bueno. That being said, I love y'all, my Black queens. I want you to know that you really are my inspiration. We don't have a lot of representation here, so I'm always, checking at you, Frenchies and English girls and American girls, your makeups and everything. Maybe in 10 years, maybe in 5, who knows? But we'll get there. We'll get there. Just give us time, okay? We're working on it.
Have you experienced racism or xenophobia here in Barcelona, in Spain?
Yes, not once, not twice. But anytime I experience that, I just laugh. It's passive aggressive. In other countries, they show it on you, they rub it on your face. But here, they're a little bit calm and cool. You'll feel it, but you won't see it. And that's okay with me because I can manage that.
Nothing. I mean, I can be pretty clear and crisp about it. I haven't faced anything so far.
Currently, I would say in Barcelona so far, I haven't experienced any discrimination or racism against me. But I have heard that some people said that there is like some form of it existing, but honestly, I haven't seen it before.
If you know why people in Spain don't like Mexicans,
No, because this happens way more often than you think, right? So I have a friend that's from Veracruz in Mexico, and she went to Spain to go study and go to school. And when she was making a lot of friends, obviously she speaks Spanish and they speak Spanish, but then they noticed that she spoke a different type of Spanish. So they asked her, where's she from? And she tells them that she's from Mexico. And she immediately notices a demeanor change within them. And I remember we kind of kept in touch because I was living in Europe and she was living in Europe, and we were hoping that we can grab lunch and hang out sometime. And so I remember calling her and just to check in on her and asking her like how things are going. And she responds to me and she's crying. So I was like, what the hell is going on? And so going back to what I was just saying, that she trying to make friends out there, and then once they find out that she is Mexican, they kind of just start talking behind her back, calling her dirty, calling her uneducated, just because she's Mexican, calling her accent a dirty accent, calling her dialect a dirty dialect. So, yes, this happens way more often than you guys think. And I was hoping that this was just like a one-off, like you just met some racist motherfuckers. No, because I took that experience and learned. But then I remember meeting Spanish people when I was living in Austria last year. And once I told them that, my dad's Mexican, so I'm half Mexican. My mom's from the US, so I'm half American. So I'm half Mexican, half American. I see their demeanor change for me as well. I'm very white passing. But as soon as I said that I was half Mexican, I see the whole demeanor change. What the hell is going on here, right? So now, when I meet other Spanish people, I just say that I'm from the US and I just speak English, and that's it. And we just talk, keep it very surface level until I can kind of gauge out them. I still really want to go to Spain because I've heard nothing but good things about it, except for the racist ass people. Like all the other Europeans, like, yeah, like Spaniards are awesome. And then you talk to any other Latino, and they're like, yeah, Spanish, like Spain is great, but the Spanish people are fucking assholes. So like the one thing in common is everyone says that Spain is beautiful. And then you talk to Latinos, and they're saying that the Spanish people are assholes, and they're racist, and looking down on them just because they speak a different dialect. The only people that don't really say anything mean about the Spaniards are Argentine people, really. And my assumption on that is that like the Spanish that Argentina speaks is very similar to the Spain Spanish. So I guess they kind of see that as, oh, you're speaking the proper Spanish, so you're okay. But that's the only like hypothesis that I can think of. But yeah, other than that, yeah, it's kind of fucked.
Waking up today seeing ICE raids in LA, California, Chicago, etc., and it's appalling. So me, of course, being super upset, I go outside as my husband is grilling a lot of chicken on the grill, which is awesome. And I start to vent, telling my black husband how terrible what is happening right now with all the ICE. Again, my husband is black. You know how he sickly responded? He literally said, nah, babe, fuck those Mexicans. They don't like black people. They've never done nothing for me. So me and my husband get into a defense fight for one another, basically he's saying Mexicans don't like blacks. He works at Amazon and has a manager there that can speak English, and he says that every time he asks her a question, she says, meh, can't help you. Okay, so tell me what the scoop is with this, people. I'm out here as a white woman, busting my ass to protect Latinos and people that are being deported. Meanwhile, my black husband is saying the Mexicans don't like the blacks. So why do I care? I literally told my husband, you care because they are people. And when this type of stuff was happening to the blacks, there was a lot of white people stepping up to help out at that time. He proceeds to then say, yeah, but did any of the Mexicans help the blacks back then? And I'm literally sitting here like, I freaking hope so. I mean, I really hope so, people. This couldn't be true, right? I would think that brown people would support brown people, and brown people would support black people. And I would wish that white people would support them all. But it seems that that is the biggest problem in this stupid country, is with people think that they're better than the next one based on the color of your skin. And that is the furthest thing from the truth ever.
This is part 3 of the Spanish racial hierarchy. We're still within the mestizo box, but we're going to focus on Afro-mestizos. So let's get into it. So becoming an Afro-mestizo would require you to have one white parent and one black parent. The one white parent would be a peninsulare, criollo, or a mestizo, because mestizos are still white, but they're just at the bottom of the white totem pole, but still white people. And then you get your black African parent. Now you have an Afro-mestizo. Fun fact, there's an Afro-mestizo museum in Guerrero, Mexico. The term mulatto is what most mixed race biracial people were called at that time. And mulatto comes from the word mule, which is really interesting because it was just a dehumanization of, people to say that, the mixed race with a African person is like being with a non-human being.
So these people are mixed race people. These people within the Spanish hierarchy many times were able to inherit property, many times became free, of the free mixed race population. these people also had the same amount of status as free Africans, if you were a free Black person. So you have the mixed race population along with the free Black population here. And remember, the free Black population is often taxed with those tribute taxes. It's like, you gotta pay a lot of money to be free.
And then the Zombo, which is the etymology of Zombo, also has a horrible history because it stands for like bow-legged. So it's like deformed, crippled. But the Afro-Indigenous population, if you had like an African parent and an Indigenous parent, they were seen as the most dangerous to the colonizers because you were anti-colonial and anti-slavery. Combo person would be one Indigenous parent, one African parent, very highly feared because of their relationship to the land and also, you know, to the Black community, the African community. Lots and lots of revolts by Afro-Indigenous people. And in some spaces, they're actually trying to reclaim that word. But that's just the dark history. So if you like this, check out my latest webinar. We're talking Afro-Latinos in Hollywood. Link in bio. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
If the one-drop rule applied to Mexico the same way it applied to America, every Mexican would be Black. That's what Henry Louis Gates said in the 2011 documentary on PBS, Blacks in Latin America. The one-drop rule, which is uniquely American, was created during the colonial period, and its purpose was to promote the maintenance of white purity, which is a key pillar of so-called white supremacy. The belief was so-called racial mixing lowered the quality of whiteness. You know, eugenics basically. For a while in America, you were either viewed as Black or white. But things were more complicated in the Spanish colonies where they had 16 different racial classifications and a caste system that operated like this. With that said, let's check out this clip. Let me know if you knew about this and let me know your thoughts.
I asked my grandpa, why you never told me we are Black? And he called my hand and told me, sweetie, we are not Black, we are morenos.
Oh, moreno.
Of course he was aware that he was a Black man, but he rejected that identity.
That's interesting.
And I think this happens in most families, that you hide the Black grandma in the closet.
The Black grandma in the closet.
Yeah.
In America, traditionally, if you had one drop of Black blood, you were Black. If the one drop rule were applied in Mexico, all of these people would be Black.
And there is actually a name for the type of racism that we see in Portugal and that has been propagated successfully until nowadays. It's called Lootropicalism, and it was invented by a Brazilian sociologist called Gilberto Freire. So Gilberto Freire advocated that the Portuguese were different from the other colonists. Why? Because of weather. In his opinion, because the Portuguese people lived in a warmer climate, they were more humane, friendlier, and more adaptable, and more prone to miscegenation as well. Salazar, the Portuguese dictator, took this concept and ran with it. Although he was a bit resistant in the beginning, because of all of the miscegenation bit, he wasn't comfortable with racial mixing. But in 1951, he just ran with it. And Lootropicalism, the myth of the Portuguese good colonizer, still lives strongly until today. Just go to my comment sections, and you'll find a ton of Lootropicalist people who don't think that they are Lootropical.
Racism and denial in Spain.
Escriban diciendo que yo como estoy morena, Baltasar era negro, que lo que estoy haciendo es una palabra nueva que no sabía en mi vida. Blackface. Blackface, que estoy haciendo racismo. Por Dios, ni soy racista, ni este programa, no tenemos un colaborador negro. Eso es el único problema.
Bueno, yo estoy negra.
Tú estás negra.
Además que,
por favor,
además
de
que
verdad.
de momento.
Hemos puesto un tono normalito.
Nos vendría
yo suelo
muy bien,
estar así en verano.
Claro, que ya
de verdad, pero esto no es racismo. Baltasar es negro. Los niños, yo soy una embajadora.
Yo no lo he dicho.
Por favor.
Cognitive dissonance, denial or pure ignorance. What do you think?
Okay, let's talk about colorism in the Hispanic community for a little bit.
all my 3 sisters were blonde.
Yeah.
And I was the only one that came out with black hair, dark skin, dark eyes. My sisters have these beautiful hazel eyes. My mom's güera, which is the white one. They call her Tia Güera because she's so light-skinned.
Yeah.
And so I grew up as La Prieta Fea, which means the ugly dark one.
No way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Who called you that?
My mom.
No.
I remember she said that, right? Remember that. Keep that in your head. She's the ugly dark one. Her family called her the ugly dark one. Now keep listening.
Like a joke?
No, it's like it's in term of endearment, but people would walk up to my mom and go, "Your daughters are so beautiful." And who's this?
Oh,
and I would be like, "I'm one of them." Blah blah blah. So I wasn't the pretty one. Like I grew up as not the pretty one. So there was a conscious decision when I was young to be the funny one. And I really think that has lent itself to my personality. Like not just like, oh, I'm going to be an actress, but like I just don't value beauty in my own self very much. And you know, I'm with L'Oreal, I'm a spokesperson, which my sisters are still like, why'd they pick you? Still, like nothing like family to.
Now, I'm not going to lie. Colorism in the black community is bad. But colorism in the Hispanic community is different. Now look at her sisters and her mom. Look at this shit. Ain't no fucking way, boy. Look now. They were the beautiful ones. And Eva was the ugly dark one. It's not the fact that they called her the ugly dark one, which is crazy as hell, but it's the fact that they made her believe it. They made her think it. The idea that lighter skin, blonde hair, light eyes just equals beauty has always been crazy to me. There's this saying in the Hispanic community that basically means purify the race. Don't reproduce or don't have babies with nobody that's darker than you or darker skin. Keep fucking somebody that's lighter than you so you can purify and make the race better, because the race is better when it's lighter and whiter. I'm not saying that there's no black people that think like that. I'm just saying it's crazy that y'all have a whole term for it. Generational systematic brainwashing of colorism, racism, and standards of beauty really need to be studied on every fucking level. And the crazier things with Hispanic is either 0 or 100. Like it's either dark skin or white skin. Like there's no in between. They don't do the shades and the brown skin and the caramel and all that shit. You're either white skin or they consider you dark skin. Like what they consider dark skin is fucking crazy, because like Eva's family said they consider her the dark one, right? But then they'll look at a J-Lo and consider her white skin, like the beautiful white skin one. I didn't see a difference in complexion. Like, y'all know it gets way darker than that, right? Like, I'll meet a lot of Hispanics, and they'll always tell me about, like, the nicknames that their family gave them, like negro, negrita, some shit like that or whatever. Something that just means black and dark. And I'll be like, why do they call you that? And they'll be like, oh, because I'm the dark one. I'm the dark-skinned one in the family. And their skin complexion will be, like, the same color as Beyonce's. And I'm like, bitch, where are you dark-skinned? They didn't really made you think that anything past pasty white is just fucking dark skin. I'm like, if you dark skin, bitch, what am I? And obviously, like I said, this is not just a Hispanic thing. Obviously, we know black people that think like this. We know Indian people that think like this. We know there's a lot of Asian and like, we know a lot of people that think like this. But like I said, this should honestly be studied because the brainwashing is fucking real.
It's true. Black people will be discriminated against in a Latin American country. If you're leaving America to get away from discrimination and you're moving to a Latin American country thinking that you're not going to be discriminated against, you're wrong. I've been hearing a lot about people that have moved to Mexico and are complaining that they're being discriminated against in Mexico. Let me tell you something. Mexico discriminates against their own Mexican people that are darker shade than the rest of them. In Mexico, there's a lot of states that have very fair skin and blue eyes people. The people that have indigenous features, the very dark skin, the black hair, are discriminated against. So you coming to live to Mexico and think that you're not going to be discriminated against is a fallacy. This is not just in Mexico. It happens everywhere in Latin America. Black people are discriminated against. In Honduras, there's an entire community of Garifunas. And Garifunas have been in Honduras for hundreds of years. And to this day, they discriminate against them. They remove their land. Some of them even get murdered. It's a battle Garifunas have gone through for decades with Honduras, because Honduras to this day does not recognize Garifunas as part of being part of Honduras. And so I grew up looking at Garifunas as if they were subculture, subhuman. I'm telling you, you think that you're leaving the US and moving to a Latin American country to escape racism? You're not escaping racism. And you need to understand that that's just the way things are. And it's very acceptable. Those of you who are coming on TikTok complaining that they're in Mexico and that they are embracing the Mexican culture and why are they being discriminated against, that is why. Mexico people discriminate against their own. What do you think it's going to happen when you're there? In fact, in Mexico, if you don't have light skin and blue eyes, first of all, look at the telenovelas. You tell me, what do you see in telenovelas? You're only going to see beautiful people with light skin and blue eyes. You're going to see some indigenous people. The vast majority of the roles they give the indigenous actors is of the maid, is of, it's never the pretty woman. Yeah. How many actors do you know in Mexico that are in a telenovela and they happen to be black? Just look at the telenovelas and you tell me how many indigenous actors and actresses you're going to see in those telenovelas. It's the reality in Mexico, and you need to understand that. You're not escaping racism by moving to a Latin American country.
Okay, let me say this. I hate to even have this conversation, but ignoring it, that is not an option. First off, racial profiling. Black women getting stopped by police, followed in stores, even pepper sprayed just for existing. Barcelona, Madrid, it's happening. And what kills me is how normalized it is. People from Spain will swear racism doesn't even exist there. But the moment a black woman walks into a club, suddenly there is a dress code problem. This sounds familiar to you, right? And let's talk about the staring. You should know this is not about curiosity, it's ordering. One woman said parents point at her like she's an exhibit. How do you think that feels? To be reduced to a spectacle just because your skin isn't white. Now here is what the internet won't tell you. Spain's racism is systematic. Groups like CNAAE are fighting for basic recognition, and the country's colonial history still unaddressed. And don't get me started on blackface during festival. How is this still a debate in 2025? Not every black traveler has a bad experience. Some love Spain, but that doesn't erase the warning. It's like saying I've never been robbed, so crime doesn't exist. Nah, we have to listen to all the stories. But before we go deeper, if you're finding this conversation valuable, subscribe, not just for me, but because topics like this, they get buried and we can't let that happen. Also, drop a comment. Have you experienced it, seen it? Let's talk. Now, some people ask why focus on Spain. Racism is everywhere. True, but here is why it matters. Tourism and reality. Spain markets itself as vibrant, welcoming place, and for money it is. But if you are black, especially a black woman, that postcard image cracks fast. You are either invisible, ignored in shop, hypervisible, stalked by stairs. There is no in-betweens. The fetishization trap. Black women aren't just dealing with racism, it's sexualized racism. Men touching hairs without permission, calling you exotic or worse. And when you speak up, you are angry. Sounds familiar. The gaslighting, you are overreacting. It's not about race. But when multiple black women, travelers, expats, even black people living in Spain say the same thing, at what point do we stop dismissing them? So here's my final thoughts. Travel is about freedom. But how free are you if you are constantly bracing for racism? I will leave you with this. Should black women avoid avoid Spain? No, but should we prepare? Absolutely, because the best weapon against ignorance is truth. Now, tell me, would you visit Spain after hearing this? Or if you've been there, what was your experience? Let's discuss. Drop a comment, and remember, sharing this video might not just prepare someone for what they are walking into, but rather is going to be a solidarity.